What's up, guys? It's MTGMatt for you, and now we are covering all the spoils from June 15th today. As of now, I'm covering all the cards that have come out so far today. It's 9 p.m. now here. Maybe some more comes out, but unlikely. If so, we'll just cover them tomorrow. So let's jump into the preview cards of today, starting with Experimental Overlord. Overload. 4 mana sorcery in Izzet colors. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard. What is this text? Let's read the actual card. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Experimental Overload. So let's think to evaluate the power level of this card. Let's think about what value should X have in order for this to feel good, right? I think to really feel good, X should be equal to 5 at least, right? Then it feels good. Like you pay 4 mana, you get a 5/5, and you get a card from your graveyard. That feels pretty good. If X is 4, it's still fine. Anything below that, I think it's bad, especially because this is at sorcery speed. So you have to cast it on your turn. And okay, let's say you get your 5, you have a 5/5, right? And you get a card back. How hard is that to achieve? Probably not too hard in the right deck. And we're seeing some support, right, for prowess. So we're getting support for like decks where you want to play a lot of instant sorceries or non-creature spells. And in these types of decks, this card would go. Is it good enough is the question. Maybe if there's like a key instant sorcery that you want to cast multiple times to actually win the game, this can give you the card back and then you have some nice upside. But my suspicion here is, or my feelings telling me that this is probably not going to see play. So, and you actually exile it, right? So, this is of course to prevent some loops where you have, if you got an experimental overload earlier in the graveyard, if you would cast another one, you could just get this back to your hand and so on. So this is there to prevent that. Difficult. I don't think it's going to see play. It's just not impactful enough. And you pay 4 mana. Maybe this card is viable if you desperately want to cast something from your graveyard again, but I doubt it. So hesitantly, I'll give it 2 stars. I mean, I like these types of cards, so I would want to give it 3 stars, but I think it's a 2-star card. Next up, oh boy, it's Volcanic Geyser. It's a X red instant, and it deals X damage to any target. So strictly speaking, it's the worst Electro Dominance. As you can see, let's just take a look at Electro Dominance. It has the same casting cost, also an instant, has the same effect, but you may cast a card with seems the XLS from your hand without paying mana cost. So this is strictly a worse Electro Dominance. However, this actually makes, you know, OTKs with Wilderness Reclamation fairly easy. If you don't have Electro Dominance, you can just take this card. So I would say it's just a nice budget-friendly card. It's not game-breaking or anything, but if you can generate absurd amounts of mana, you can also see OTK someone with this. You just need like an infinite mana combo, and there you go. So I would say it's like a 3-star card, has a powerful effect, but it's nothing new, and Electro Dominance is in a meta, doesn't see play. So yeah, I give it 3 stars. Next up, oh yeah, this one. 9 lives, 3 mana enchantment in white with hexproof. And if a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. Okay. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on 9 lives, exile it, and when 9 lives leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So, a lot of damage prevention right here. Only to you, not to your permanents. Which I think is an upside, because, right, you want to try to survive with this card. So you basically block 9 instances of damage. So if you play against an aggro deck, that's not particularly much. Especially, imagine you play against red aggro with Cavalcade of Calamity. They easily get more than 9 triggers in turn. So against those kinds of decks, this would be really, really bad. Against control decks, you don't really need it, right? Because in control matchups, it's not like you getting damaged all the time. And against mid-range decks, it's probably pretty okay against mid-range decks. And so this is a card which I want to make work, right? Because it seems so cool. It's damage prevention, and there are ways to prevent the lose the game effect. You can counter this triggered ability with, I think it's called Tails End from M20. Tails End, exactly. So it has counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. So if you want to combine this, you can just counter the lose the game effect, and then you had like a 9 instance of damage that got prevented. Or you use your discontinuity to just end the turn, then this also doesn't happen. So there are some ways to make this work. The question is simply, is it worth to make this work? My gut feeling is telling me probably not, but I'm gonna try it anyway, because I think this card is pretty intriguing and interesting. And yeah. I also checked, actually, when I saw this card, if there are ways right now in Standard to remove counters from enchantments. And from my knowledge, there are none. There are ways to remove counters from creatures, artifacts, planeswalkers, but unfortunately not from enchantments. So you can't actually manipulate the counters in a way that, you remove counters or anything. That doesn't work, unfortunately. But yeah, so objectively, I think I have to give this 2 stars. I don't think this is going to be viable, but I really want to try to make this work and see just where this leads. Next up, we got Shackled Geist. It's a 2-mana 2/2 spirit with flying in blue. It can block only creatures with flying and tap 2 untapped spirits you control to tap target creature you don't control. So you can tap down your opponent's stuff if you got enough spirits. I'm not aware that there's a lot of spirit support in Standard. I know there's Kaikar from last year's core set in Jeskai colors, which creates spirit tokens whenever you cast a, I think, non-creature spell. So there would be some synergy with that, finally. Kaikar was pretty shit so far. But I don't think, I don't think that a Spirit Tribal deck is going to be a thing. I just can't imagine. Maybe there's going to be some more support, but there's some spirits, but not too many. This card in a vacuum is actually also not that great. It's a 2-mana to the flyer, which is just solid, right? But it can't really block. It can only block creatures flying. I wonder, could you play this in Azorius flyers? I don't think so, because there are way better flyers that compete for the 2-drop slot. So all in all, this card just doesn't feel right to me, so I would give this 2 stars. I don't know, maybe if there are more spirits printed, you could play an aggressive flyer stack with spirits, but I very much doubt it, so it's just like a 2-star card. And yes, shrines are back. Shrines are actually back. We have 6 new shrines, actually not 5, we got 6 new shrines. 1 in each color, and then 1 shrine for all 5 colors. So let's take a look at them. Very intriguing. So what do they do? So we've got the green one here, which is Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. For 3 mana, legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of shrines you control. So if you play this by itself, the turn it comes down, it does nothing. And then if you don't have another shrine, at the next turn it gives you 1 extra mana, which is really, really bad ramp for 3 mana. And this really starts only to shine when you have, like, I think honestly, if you need to have at least 3 shrines to make this good, because you have to account for the mana cost you also have to put into the other shrines. So yeah, hard to evaluate this. I don't think the shrines are going to be that good, and this one feels okay. By my gut feelings tell me probably not that great. If you want to ramp, you have way better ways to do it. So I give this like 2 stars, and I think that's even generous. Next up we got the red one, Sanctum of Shattered Hates. Also for 3 mana, legendary enchantment shrine. You can pay 1 mana and discard land card or shrine card. To have Sanctum of Shattered Hates, deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you control. I think this card is almost good if it also dealt damage to players, which it doesn't. And this way it can be good removal. You can get rid of the shrine cards you don't need, and the land cards you don't need. Sorry. But again, I mean, let's say you have 3 shrines, which I think is a lot. You pay 1 mana and you discard a card, which you might not need, to be fair, but you discard a whole card to the 3 damage target creature or planeswalker. Is that worth it? I don't think that's worth a whole shrine slot or anything. So unfortunately I have to say I think this one is also bad. And I give this one 2 stars. 1 star maybe. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's probably a 1-star card. Got to say. Next one, now this is a good one. Sanctum of Stonefangs, the black one, 2 mana, legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your pre-com main phase, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. I think it's probably the best one of the shrines. The effect is just really good. Having your opponent lose life is amazing. This only costs 2 mana. So let's say if you get to 3 shrines, this is really, really good. Your opponent loses 3 life every turn, you gain 3 life every turn. I think this is really, really good in those kind of situations. Even like imagine you just put one of, like, this is the only shrine in your deck. For 2 mana, having an enchantment that drains the opponent for 1 life every turn, gives you 1 life, is already actually solid. It's actually already solid. So I think this is certainly a 3-star card. If shrines become viable, which I don't think they will, this is the best one of the shrines. Maybe then it's like 4 stars, but even probably not. But this is, I think, the best one of the shrines, and the effect is very, very, very useful. Can also be combined, you know, with the life gain decks and so on. I really like it, so I give this one 3 stars. Then we have the white one, which just costs 1 mana, and you can pay 6 mana to tap target creature, and this ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. So I think this one is obviously terrible, but the fact that it only costs 1 mana makes it, I think, viable to simply act as a support for your other shrines. And imagine just playing all those colors with this shrine and the black shrine, and you just put this one in to pump your Black Shrine, and you know, occasionally you can tap down a creature for 4 mana, because this refers to each shrine, so it also refers to itself. So this, at a base, this actually costs 5 mana and not 6. So maybe this is viable simply as a support shrine for your other shrines, but by itself it's really like a 1-star card. Yeah. And oh, I actually skipped the blue one. So the blue one is Sanctum of Calm Waters, which says at the beginning of your pre-common main phase you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. So in order for this to be good, X needs to be at least 2, because otherwise you're just paying 4 mana to loot every turn. However, I think maybe this is cool with decks caring about card draw. I mean, we have seen this Teferi Legendary Enchantment, which draws you double the cards you draw, apart from the first one you draw each turn. So maybe there's a way to utilize this deck in mill decks or decks that care about drawing a lot of cards. So this might be one of the better shrines. Also, it's fairly costly though, but I think it's also pretty good, so I give this 3 stars. And I would say that the Black Shrine and this Blue Shrine are the best shrines of the ones we've seen so far. And then we've got the Rubric Shrine, which I think is like a new concept. The old shrines you just had one in each color, but no Rubric Shrine. So you pay 5 mana on all colors, Legendary Enchantment Shrine, and at the beginning of your upkeep you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. So if you get all the shrines on the battlefield, then this is pretty disgusting actually. Just imagine the Black Shrine. You got 6 shrines. The Black Shrine deals 6 damage to your opponent and heals you for 6. And with Sanctum of all, this triggers twice, so you deal 12 damage to your opponent and you gain 12 life, which is obviously just game winning. And you get 12 mana and so on. It's just crazy, right? And the nice thing about a Sanctum of All enables you to get to these shrines, right? Because you play this and then you get to search your library and graveyard for the shrines you're missing. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to try it, of course, but maybe, you know, a Woober control deck with Sanctum of All, and maybe you splash in some enchantment synergy in there with Pharaohs Beyond Death cards, right, that care about the number of enchantments and so on. I actually really like this because this really gives you a reason to build a 5-color deck, which is awesome. Is it going to be good? I mean, the effect, if you get to those 6 shrines, the effect is very powerful, right? But you have to get there. So, honestly, you could, I think you could put in every shrine once in your deck, really just once. And then you put in, for example, 4 Idyllic Tutors in your deck to simply tutor up the Sanctum of All when you can actually cast it. And then you just play the Sanctum of All. The Sanctum takes care of, searching for all your shrines from your deck. And you really don't, maybe you don't put an emphasis on the shrines being your win condition, and the rest of your deck is really just there to control the game. And the shrines could just be the late game win condition. Maybe that could work. Sounds very interesting to me. From a rating point of view, it's probably a 3-star card because it is powerful, I think. Tutors the shrines you want. And what's noteworthy is that the search effect triggers on your upkeep, and your shrine's effects happen on your pre-combat main base. So you search up a shrine, and then its effect comes immediately, which is pretty good, right? So I give it a 3 stars because I don't know if it's going to be powerful, but I love the idea behind this, so I'm definitely going to try this out. Okay, and last 4 cards for today. Randall Sky, Guile. It's a common card. 1 mana instant in green, a common, but I think this is very good. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and hexproof until end of turn. Now the main thing here is hexproof. If you're playing a creature focused deck that just wants to run down your opponent with big beefy stuff, all you really sometimes care about is to like, in order to win the game, is to just keep your creature on the board for 1 more turn and protect it against removal, and this at 1 mana at instant speed is super good. There was a similar card. Is it here? I don't know what it was called. Was it called? I think it was called Dive Down. Yeah, Dive Down, which saw a lot of play. Which was this 1 mana instant blue. Target creature you control gets +0/+3 and hexproof until end of turn. To be fair, this card got played in blue in Izzet decks with your Crackling Days, Drakes, and so on, and this is in green. But I still think the effect is very good. Also gives +1/+1, which is a nice bonus. And this card can very reliably be played in, green creature focused decks. Protect your big creature to just protect you 1 more turn and then hit your opponent. So I really like this card. It's the use is very narrow, or I would say very specific to creature decks. And but I like it, so I think it's a 3-star card, definitely, and can be very, very powerful. Don't remember this card when you build your decks. And next up we've got another legendary creature, a human wizard. It's Baron Tolarian Archmage. 3 mana 2/2, legendary creature, human wizard. And when Baron Tolarian Archmage enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. And at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So you can play a 3 mana 2/2, bounce one of your opponent's creatures or planeswalkers. Planeswalker is actually very unusual as a bounce effect. Or if you bounce your own stuff, you get to draw a card. All in all, once you play, the effect is way too minor to justify a free drop. So for constructed, I'll give this 2 stars. I don't think there's a lot of potential, really. So no, just no. It's not a good card in constructed. And last card for today is Ghostly Pilferer, 2 mana 2/1 Spirit Rogue. And when Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. And you can discard a card so that Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn. So a lot of stuff going on. First of all, it's a spirit, so as we've seen before, there might be some spirit support. So this would be one thing. It's a rogue. There is some rogue support, obviously, in this core set. For that. So the tribal here is actually quite significant. The effect is also cool. The first one, you attack with it, and then it's your turn. For 2 mana, you get to draw a card, which is just great. It's repeatable, cool effect. The second one, very, very situational. But if it just happens, it's nice. You get to draw a card. The effect is just there. It's just a nice upside in situational. Certain situations, like your opponent. I know if your opponent gets creatures with Winota onto the battlefield, does this count as casting other than their hand? Not sure actually. And then the last fact is also nice. Making a creature unblockable is always powerful. You can put your octopus on there to have it draw cards for you when it deals combat damage to your opponent. So all in all, just a solid creature. Could also just maybe see play in mono blue tempo just by itself. So I like it. I would give it 3 stars, just a very solid creature. And with that being said, that sums up the previews for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, we've still got over 100 cards to go for Core Set 2021.